What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece treasure cruise video. So we've got the treasure map starting tonight, and of course it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to be live streaming for the first few hours of the event, so make sure to come over to the stream. Of course, the stream is always linked down below in the video description of every video I upload. But today I want to talk about Gear 5 Luffy, and well, overall, I think that he's a fantastic legend, and honestly, he's a lot of fun to use, one of my favorite legends to use in the game. Fantastic abilities, but he's not perfect. He definitely has some issues, some flaws, and I think that it's good that characters have flaws, because if they were legitimately good at everything, then it'd be a little bit boring, I feel. But, you know, this character isn't perfect, but as we know, this character is going to be receiving a super evolution. It looks like it's going to be in early September. We don't have an exact date confirmed for that yet, but we know that he is going to super evolve. On the official Sugofest notice, this was here, saying the new Super Sugofest only Luffy will be receiving a Super Evolution form in September. The Super Evolution form of the new Luffy will have the same type and class, but certain effects may change. Details will be updated in a separate notice. So yeah, this confirms, you know, he's going to be super evolving, obviously, and the big thing is the type and class are going to be the same as the current form of Luffy. This was a big thing because we kind of had a fair idea that Luffy was going to be super evolving, but as we kind of had these theories going on with like Yamato, when Yamato first debuted, she was int driven striker, and then when she super evolved, she became a Psi unit, and instead of driven, she was free spirit focused. So big changes with that unit, and you kind of wanted two copies of the character to have the two different forms, whereas Gear 5 Luffy, he's gonna have the same type and class combination, so it doesn't look like you'll need like two copies of the character to have this form and then the super evolved form, but the effects will change, apparently. At least that's what it looks like. So we don't know what that exactly means, whether the character is going to be overhauled completely or if the character is just going to get minor buffs across the board. It's going to be hard to really determine that at the moment. But in this video, I want to kind of discuss some components of this character and then give my thoughts and opinions as to how they could improve it or change it in a super evolution state. So let's get into it. So over here on the database, of course, shout out to Solaris and the gang for putting it all together. As we've established, Free Spirit Fighter Psi are going to be his continued type and class combinations moving forward into September. And then, of course, you've got the captain ability. Now, there are a couple of things that I would really, got me thinking, you know, with the fact that they're going to be super evolving. The fact that we have this Gear 5 Luffy that was the initial transformation of Luffy becoming Gear 5 Luffy, awakening his devil fruit. Now, I wonder that if this character super evolves, maybe they lose the ability of the base captain, and he doesn't get a revive mechanic, and he doesn't get the damage reduction and whatever. But if they change it where he is always in Gear 5 state in his super evolved form, that would definitely change things, and it would mean you actually would want a regular 6-star form and a 6-star plus variation of the character. It is really interesting to see how they're going to go about it, but I feel like the fact that they've gone out of their way to implement a revive mechanic, a revive animation, inputting that onto this character, I feel like if he super evolves, or he is going to super evolve, I don't think they're going to scrap this, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did do something like that, where you've got this form of Luffy, which was the initial transformation, and then the 6-star plus is like the fully established Gear 5. He's always in Gear 5 state, you don't have to worry about it, because that really continues on with his special ability, where it says that if your character is in Gear 5 state when you launch the special, that's where you get the orb boost for your Psi Free Spirit characters and removing positive buffs by 1 turn. But as we have already established, is that his EX special, it doesn't activate when he is a crewmate, which kind of makes things a bit difficult, because it means no matter what, when this character is a crewmate, you will never get the second half of his special. He'll always be in the normal Luffy form, unless if you have him transform into Gear 5 as a captain, and then you switch him out into a sub with a special or an enemy debuff to swap the captains around. So that is going to be a thing moving forward, which makes me think, like, what if with the super evolved state, where he's always in Gear 5 state, if they just make it so that this doesn't have a condition, because he's going to be in Gear 5 state, which would mean that, you know, you get the affinity, you get the orb boost straight away, you always remove positive buffs no matter what. So that's just some ideas I had floating around in my head in terms of what they could do for this character. But I know one other big thing that many people were talking about with Gear 5 Luffy, especially on initial reveal, people were kind of disappointed that he just didn't have like the overall freedom that many people were expecting Gear 5 Luffy to have, considering he is the embodiment of freedom. People really wanted some type of way to kind of choose what you want this character to do. What I mean by that is like maybe when you launch the special, you get like a choice of affinity, attack boost, and orb boost, and you can select certain ones to activate. So maybe you only want an affinity boost, so you just select that and that's it. But maybe you want an attack boost and an orb boost, and then you have an affinity boost elsewhere. I think something like that would be pretty neat, and you could just select what buffs you want to activate, and they all have a set value, like attack, orb, affinity, 3x boost to Psi-Free Spirit, and you can select 2 of them to activate. So if you're running double Luffy, you can get all of these buffs to activate, but it also has kind of like a reduced redundancy in a way, where if you already have an attack booster, you don't have to select attack boost. But remember, this character debuted alongside Momonosuke, so potentially they didn't want to give this character an attack boost because they left it for Momo to do that instead. And it is kind of annoying that he is focused around affinity, because affinity is one of the most annoying buffs to have, because it only works if you have type advantage, whereas orb boosts and attack boosts are always valuable buffs to have. They're always going to give you more damage, whereas affinity only works with type advantage. So bit of a difference between them two. The 2 million fixed damage is probably not going to change. That goes through everything. I absolutely love that he has that. I really wish it attacked all enemies and not a single target, but nonetheless, I think 2 million fixed damage through everything is still very good, and changing all block slots into Psi is obviously very good too. I think it would be interesting as well, maybe with the EX special, where, you know, he makes the amplification of Psi and recovery slots become 3x. I think it'd be really interesting if he made it, like, maybe it's a captain ability or component in his Super EX special, but like an effect that would make Psi or recovery slots be treated as like a Wano slot in a way. And what I mean by that is that they can't be changed by the enemy, which is one of the best components of Rainbow and Wano slots, where the enemy inflicts an orb change on your side of the crew, and if you've already got Wano or Rainbow slots, they can't change them around. And I think it'd be cool if Psi and recovery slots had that same feature, that same component, so that you could just use his special ability, and if the opponent tries to get rid of them, it doesn't work, and that would be really cool too. But again, I don't think they're going to add too much to the Super EX special, and of course he does become Gear 5 when you use the EX special, potentially another way to offset the fact that if this character's in Gear 5 state, you get the rest of it. As we already established, you only get it if you use him as a captain. Maybe they make the EX special usable as a crewmate. That would also be another really good way to circumvent the issue of him not getting the rest of his special when he is the crewmate. Maybe they had all of this planned initially. It's hard to really say. And the condition for this effect is kind of annoying too, I will admit. You know, team building only with these characters in mind is a little funky, and especially if you're a newer player or a mid-level player, this actually might be pretty difficult to do. If you are an established player, endgame player that's been playing for a long time, and you have an established character box, this is not super difficult to get around in a lot of content. You can build very solid teams with this array of characters to fulfill the condition for that Super EX special. But I just think that considering you're hampering our team building so much with 3 of these characters have to be on the crew, I feel like it would be nice if we're able to use this as a crewmate, and being able to get access to super type and super class as a crewmate would be incredibly strong. And it gets me excited just thinking about other things they could do in the future with Super EX, just because getting super type and super class simultaneously is just nuts, especially when you take into consideration the fact that he is a 6x captain and ignores damage negating effects and barriers. Like, it's just very, very strong. So I like all of that with Gear 5 Luffy. Now, something else that really kind of pissed me off was the potential abilities that they've done and kind of the design around this unit. So you've got his reducing slot bind by 10 turns, which is fine, it's acceptable, considering it's Gear 5 Luffy though. Like, come on, they have to make this even better. And people may say that, you know, they don't typically change potential abilities with super evolutions, but we have had the example of this Gear 5 Luffy, the final tap Luffy, and we can go ahead and have a look at his potential abilities. Where are they? So here's one here. He has the final tap, he has the hunger, he has the slot bind duration, and he actually gets rid of it completely. So hey, you're gonna have blue final tap Luffy resist it completely, and you have Gear 5 only reduce it by 10 turns. That is ridiculous. But the final tap of this unit, 1000 base attack, change his own slot into Wano. So not a great final tap, honestly, but then this character super evolves into the Red Rock Luffy, and we have a look at his potential abilities here. So the hunger doesn't change, but when you look at the final tap, level 5, boosting this character's attack by 2500 for 1 turn, and then you get the guaranteed Wano slot. So the fact that we have this final tap Luffy that's being able to change his final tap so significantly leads me to believe that I have a feeling that either just the slot binding critical hit could change, but also more importantly, I feel like the Rush Sugo special should probably get a shift in some capacity. Now, one of the big issues with the Rush itself is the condition, because you have to be on the final stage for 1, you have to be in gear 5 state for 2, and you have to be the last attacker in the chain for 3, right? So it's 3 conditions you have to fulfill. Obviously this one is kind of whatever, but being in gear 5 state and the last attacker in the chain, relatively annoying to deal with. And once again, you need to be in the gear 5 state, so if you're using him as a crewmate, you literally cannot use his Rush Sugo special. But the big thing about it is that it only boosts the attack of himself, and that's where a lot of people don't like this character. And because he has to be the final attacker in the chain, you're not allowed to implement last tap or final tap alongside his Rush Sugo special. And I think that's a big missed opportunity. I don't like the fact that they're hindering us so badly. I wouldn't be as pissed if this was just removed, right? So if it's just last stage and in gear 5 state, I feel like that's a relatively fair condition for what you get with his Rush Sugo special. But then obviously, the fact that they hinder you so much with this condition, I don't like the fact that he only gives himself the attack boost. And I feel like if they're going to do something like this, and remember, this is gear 5, this is Luffy's peak right here. The fact that the Rush Sugo special does not make his own attack super effective is where I kind of get a little bit upset as well. Because that's one thing, is like, we've never had a final tap have super effective damage, and it's kind of surprising because super effective damage would be a very good final tap, but they just don't do it. And I would love to see it with like something like this, where he gives himself all of these buffs, he attacks, and he's super strong, especially against int enemies. He's going to be incredible. But if they make his rush super effective, maybe just the rush damage, right? Make the rush damage super effective, that would be so strong and so good, and people would actually go out of their way to probably max this guy out because of how good that would be. Not saying it would be better than, like, you know, the full Free Spirit squad with Rush Sanji, you've got like a Super Tandem Nami or Enmazor, you know, Super Tandem effect, and then like a Luffy crew final tap or some other final tap. Yeah, that combination of that Free Spirit squad is still probably better, but if you have this guy just doing so much damage with rainbow damage, people would not be as mad as what they would be. So I think the Rush Sugo special needs a pretty big change with the Super Evolution. I hope that's the case. It's really hard to say. And then in terms of Rumble, I don't think he really needs to change too much. One thing that's kind of interesting though is that his fixed damage is 4,500. Personally, I think that's kind of an odd number for them to give him, so I think this is probably going to be buffed to 5,000. Attack buff might be upgraded. The damage through defense might also be upgraded, or hit multiple enemies would be pretty cool too. And then the rumble ability and all the GP stuff. I mean, this character in GP is already insane, so I sincerely hope we don't see any major changes here. Well, I think it needs to be debuffed if anything. But anyways, that's just some interesting talking points to talk about with Gear 5 Luffy. I love this unit. He's a lot of fun to use, and I'm really excited to see where they're going to be taking this guy in the future for his Super Evolution, because you know, this is a much anticipated character, and I really hope that they don't screw this up. And I guess one thing that we kind of didn't talk about is, as the captain, his cooldown reduction is the big issue, considering he's got such a high cooldown. Like 15 turns with expansion is ridiculous. Most people are only going to have him at 16. I feel like he should have a component in his captain that gives himself cooldown at the start of the quest. Not even for the whole crew, but if he gave himself like 3 or 4 turns of cooldown at the start of the quest, heck, even 2 turns of cooldown at the start of the quest for himself, that would be really, really much appreciated. Or alternatively, with his Super Evolution, maybe his cooldown gets reduced naturally. It's hard to say, but that's going to wrap it up for me. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. What do you guys think is going to happen with this character's Super Evolution? Because I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing what this character has in store for us. So we'll have to wait until early September, hopefully early September, to see what they have in store for this guy. Hopefully you enjoyed the video though. If you guys did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.